have had this recorder for 14 years, and I have never played it properly. Not even once. There's just something I don't get about reading music and moving my fingers and breathing. I wish I was joking. I just never understood why we were forced to learn something that sounds so awful in school. That was my excuse for why I didn't try very hard. But I am an adult now and I am sick of making excuses. So, to finally figure this instrument out, I'm diving into the surprisingly vast history of the recorder, learning from a professional recorder musician, and finally earning my black belt in recorder karate.
I've been looking forward to this.
You shouldn't have, Alison. I'm so nervous.
This is the dumbest video I've ever made. Thank you to Grammarly for sponsoring a portion of this video, and to our patrons for supporting the channel. Look what I found.
That's a nice case.
Did you not have one of these?
Yes, I learned how to play the recorder in grade 4. And that was the end of that because the instrument sounds whack.
Did you guys do recorder karate?
Like, fight with the recorders.
It's like this program where there's like 9 different songs of increasing difficulty. You learn new techniques to play each song, and then you get like a belt, like in karate.
That's cute, we never had that.
I never got my black belt in recorder karate, so I held on to my recorder.
As a symbol of your failure? Why did you do this to yourself?
I'm determined to earn this.
When, though? When are you gonna do this?
I don't know.
You're just gonna like not work and just play recorder all day?
What are you, my boss?
Well, I mean, 1 week. Let me know how you get to your black belt in 1 week.
Okay.
So you don't spend the rest of your life trying to get a black belt in recorder karate.
It's a thing that 4th graders are able to do.
Sure, but you weren't one of them. So, Sabrina.
So today is day 1 of trying to learn how to play the recorder. I have no idea if I washed this the last time I used it. It's been over 10 years, so let's start with that. If it's good enough for ducks, it's good enough for me. Ugh, there's like a bunch of bite marks on here. I actually found the arts curriculum from when I went to school, and it said that 4th graders should be able to compose a pentatonic melody. Like the a cappella group? Anyway, in order to get my white belt in recorder karate, we are starting off with a classic. Hot cross buns. One that sound like a choo-choo train. This is not gonna go well. Okay, I am as far from my neighbors as I could possibly be. I do not want this project causing a noise complaint. I have my recorder. I have my 4th grade learn to play recorder book. I've kept both these things. Can you tell how much this has haunted me? So this should be able to help me learn how to play, but I think I'm just gonna try and get my white belt before even opening the lesson book. So we've got the recorder karate songs, and let's do it. What letter is that? B? This is so bad. It feels like the 4th grade all over again. I just need to do it once. Do you breathe in between notes? It was humbling realizing that I was less capable than a 10-year-old, but I was determined. Mainly because this was somehow my job for the next week. Improvement! Let's get my yellow belt. I have never heard this song before in my life. Oh, but this is cool. There are these little apostrophes that tell me when I'm actually supposed to breathe. That doesn't seem right. It's just so clearly Mary Had a Little Lamb. Like, why are we trying to change its name? Mary went into witness protection. Okay, we all know it was a rocky start, but it is day 3. I'm going to get the hang of this. It's raining. There's a new note. E. Green belt, achieved! I might be a prodigy. Or 26 years old. I'm getting better faster than I ever did in elementary school, but more importantly, I'm actually having fun, even if everyone around me isn't. This is just reminding me that when I was a kid, there was so much emphasis on playing and creating music. But now, as an adult, especially one who clearly struggled with music, I mainly just consume it. And that is a very different experience. Purple belt complete! Only 4 more to go. But before that, I want to talk about another thing I struggled with in school.
writing, and how Grammarly is helping me become a better writer and is supporting the channel by sponsoring this portion of the video. You see, every essay I've ever written was always returned covered in red pen. This made it really difficult for me to understand which mistakes were just my style of writing and what were actual problems with my clarity and communication. Grammarly solves this problem by separating its suggestions into grammatical correctness, clarity, engagement, and delivery. It's like a writing partner that keeps your audience and intent in mind. So when I'm writing out explainers, I can make sure that my writing isn't too stuffy and works for a general audience. Or I can also use it to send more confident business emails. And while Grammarly is free to use, there is a premium option that lets you tailor your writing even further. It offers strategic suggestions to help you make your point more effectively. Grammarly can do this proactively in line, but you could also be like me and set it to only offer suggestions when prompted. Click the link in the description to sign up for Grammarly today and get 20% off when you upgrade to premium to level up your productivity and get work done faster. Thanks again to Grammarly for sponsoring this portion of the video and helping me write better. Now, if only you could help me play the recorder better. New feature? Day 4. I have been practicing too long. Now it's time for my red belt. I just need to practice for my red belt. A little ditty called Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Have you heard of it? Oh, there's a new note. What's this? Is that it? As I was preparing for my red belt, I was doing so well that I decided to share my progress with my biggest hater. Hi. Right?
So wait, it's been a week. You sound like a grade 4-year-old.
A grade 4-year-old? No, I think it's because there's like not a bunch of other kids to distract me, but I'm realizing that this is kind of fun. Like, I just think that it's like a real musical instrument, and like,
I've never seen a real recorder musician, so I don't know what it's supposed to sound like.
Oh.
I said, I've never seen a real recorder musician before.
I think it's a real musical instrument.
All right, I'm gonna need you to prove that to me. Thank you.
Are you kicking me out? In an attempt to defend my honor and the recorders, I decided to figure out the real reason why we were forced to learn the recorder in school. I wanted to check if it was just economical or if there was something more. So I dove into the history of the recorder to understand where it came from and how it ended up in the hands of 10-year-olds across America. And it turns out the story is way weirder than most people realize. So the recorder as we know it comes out of medieval Europe, but it goes mainstream during the Baroque period when famous composers like Bach, Handel, Vivaldi are composing solos for the recorder. And let me tell you, they go hard. Unfortunately, the recorder was slowly sidelined by the transverse flute, whose flexibility better suited increasingly dynamic musical trends. So, for the next 100-ish years, the recorder basically vanished. But if that's the case, how did it end up in the hands of 10-year-olds across America? Basic searches will blame this guy, Carl Orff. He came up with this music education approach that took off after World War II. It included the recorder, which is a big reason why it ended up in schools across the world. But what everybody fails to mention is that he didn't want to use the recorder. I found his autobiography, and it turns out he wanted to use the African marimba. The problem was that he couldn't figure out how to mass produce it with Western tuning, so he consulted a specialist, Kurt Sachs. But Kurt Sachs was like, Why don't you just use the recorder instead? In fact, I know a guy who makes a bunch of them. But why? Because remember, this was well before Carl's music system ever took off. In fact, this meeting had to have taken place between 1923 and 1930, which is also before plastic recorders were even a thing. So who was mass producing this obscure wooden flute from the 17th century? And why? Before Karl or before World War II, the recorder played a key role in England and Germany's parallel struggle to define and redefine their cultural identity. Yes, the recorder. Intrigue! In the late 1800s, tensions were brewing within England and Germany. England was mockingly called a nation without music, and scholars were keen to prove them wrong. At the same time, Germany was becoming increasingly industrial and individualistic, and people wanted to reconnect with their communities. That is the context you need to understand what happened next. In 1903, Arnold Dolmetsch, a musician and instrument maker, bought a vintage recorder and learned how to play it with his family. But in 1919, his son lost it at a train station. So, Arnold decided to make a new one from scratch and showed it off during a music festival he organized. Over the years, two key figures attended this festival: Edgar Hunt, an English music teacher, and Peter Harlan, a German instrument maker. They both recognized that the simplicity of the recorder, which once banished it to obscurity, could bring it back to life. Edgar Hunt was really keen to elevate music education in English schools. At the time, students would make their own pipes out of bamboo, but this was time-consuming and often led to cut fingers and out-of-tune instruments. He wanted to introduce kids to what he thought was good music, and he figured that the recorder's repertoire of legendary composers could help. Unfortunately, all of the recorders made in England were incredibly expensive. Luckily, across the sea, Peter Harlan had started producing recorders and selling them to his peers in Germany. This rapidly growing market of young people who wanted the connection that came with playing folk music together. Now, this desperation was eventually co-opted by the National Socialist Party with an internal memo acknowledging,
"Songs possess the strongest community building power. Thus, we use them deliberately at those moments when we want to waken the consciousness of being part of a community."
So the recorder, according to Edgar Hunt, became the instrument of the Hitler Youth, with the children's orchestra opening the infamous 1936 Berlin Olympics playing music by one Carl Orff. Now, this twist in the recorder's history is incredibly unfortunate, but it did have one major benefit. It made the instrument incredibly affordable. Cheap German imports was how Edgar convinced English schools to adopt the recorder, solidifying its place in international education so that even at the outbreak of World War II, England just started producing their own, turning to plastic to keep prices low, which is how we ended up with this. Or actually, you probably played a plastic Yamaha. The story there is that a Japanese man named Yoshitaka Sakamoto was attending the 1936 Olympic Games. He saw all of those kids playing the recorders, felt inspired, bought some, brought them back to Japan, and then convinced the Yamaha Corporation to make them. So it still goes back to the Nazis. But anyway, you weren't forced to learn the recorder in school because it was cheap. It was cheap because people throughout history recognized this simple instrument's potential as a tool to explore musical composition, to educate young people with an instrument that'll meet them where they're at, and to exploit the joy that comes with making music together. You can't win them all, but needless to say, this instrument is so much more than a toy. But I'm worried that you still don't believe me because you think that the recorder can only sound like this. Brown belt. Now, despite my genius improvement, I want to find somebody who can show us what the recorder can sound like with a little bit more practice. I had the chance to speak with Alison Melville, a professional recorder musician, at the beautiful Orange Lounge studio in Toronto.
I think the first time I actually heard anybody say this kind of derogatory thing about the recorder, a junior high school teacher, and he said, "Well, you don't still play that, do you? That's just a stepping stone instrument." I don't know how this happened, but for example, Suzuki violin class, they usually don't sound very good. But everybody knows that a violin doesn't sound like how it sounds in Suzuki class. How come it's just suddenly, oh, but it's a recorder, it can't be any different? And if it's a skilled player, then some people will think it's a flute. Unless they see it's a recorder with the sound coming out of it, they'll sort of say, oh, that can't possibly be a recorder.
Alison gave me some examples of where we might hear the recorder without knowing it, including some of her own work.
Cuphead, the latest game, The Delicious Last Course. And there's one tune where it's really quite prominent, but you might not know that's a recorder. Any professional most of the time is playing a wooden one. This is a plastic Yamaha in translucent blue. So you can hear there's a difference in the sound. It makes total sense. It's like any other instrument. The material it's made of affects how it sounds.
But interestingly, material isn't the most notable influence on a recorder's sound. Recorders actually come in a wide variety of sizes that change its range.
This is an alto. The lowest note on a soprano, and that's a C. This is an F. So it makes sense, right? The bigger they get, the lower they sound. The lower you get, the nicer people think it sounds. This is the special one. This is the one nobody believes is a recorder.
That's delightful.
But you can also hear it's quite soft. It's not the only instrument I play, but it's really, I feel like it's mostly the instrument that is my voice. It's a very specific instrument. It has a kind of a rigidity about it. It needs to be just right. So you find more ways, whether it's different kinds of music to play, different kinds of people to play with who challenge your assumptions, who help you grow. Any instrument has the people who find that that's really their voice. I've had colleagues say things like they hate the accordion. I was like, okay, well, but there are lots of people who love the accordion and who play it extremely well. And just because you don't like the sound of that instrument doesn't make it not a musical instrument.
I would like to try and play something for you,
Yes,
Alison.
I've been looking forward to this.
You shouldn't have, Alison. You shouldn't have. I'm so nervous. If you could do me the honor of listening to me play Ode to Joy,
Yes,
and then let me know if you think I deserve that.
yes, I will.
Okay. I've been so bad at breathing, Alison. I've just been losing my breath the entire time. It's fine. It's good. Okay.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
I got it very good. I messed up a little bit
Well,
over
you know
there.
what? You know what? Just try that bit again. Yes, okay. So my decision.
I got it?
Yes, you did. Of course you did.
Thank you! Oh, today's the day I learned that I don't know how to tie a karate band.
Perfect. People don't talk about this when you're in a classroom, right? But take a breath, take a really good breath before you start. Because often you'll see, especially when children are playing. Right? And they didn't breathe before they start.
And that was me.
One other thing is when you start playing the sound, usually when you play the notes, instead of stopping and starting with the air, like hoo, you go do, 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 but you keep the air going. Let's just play a little experiment here. I play something for you and you play back.
Okay.
There you go. So that's all in one breath.
Okay.
So then if I was going to tongue it, if I was going to try and play them separately, I could go do, do, do. The blowing stays the same. Instead of, right? You want to just try that?
Sounds so much better. Can I do it? We're asking a lot now.
It's like singing and going la, la. There you go. It's
Oh! Oh!
I know it sounds silly, but after a decade of feeling ashamed about my musical incompetence, Alison patiently teaching me was incredibly freeing. It made me want to try one more time.
Do you want to try and play together?
Would you like me to play a harmony part with you?
Yes?
Growing up can be so serious and lonely, but there's something about making music together, even bad music, that makes it feel a little bit better.
Whoops.